I've had a really interesting week, and I've had quite a lot of people that have got reactive dogs.
Yeah.
And they all say that they have the same problem, that when they meet another dog, their dogs go crazy. But do you know what the most important thing is that they say to me?
What's that then?
Is that it's always the other dog's fault.
Oh man, you mean so they're meeting on lead somewhere?
Yeah, it's never their dog's fault. But one of the things I wanted to talk about really today was about how do we know if our dog's going to be good with another dog?
It's a really important question because everyone assumes their own dog's going to be okay, but are there any signs that we can share with people that's easy for them to use?
It's true. And also, one of the things that I always think about is the fact that everybody thinks every dog should get on.
Yeah,
and I know, I think about...
It's crazy, isn't it? I mean, because we don't get on with everybody.
No, definitely not. and if you were to throw me in a party and say, go and talk to everybody and go and sniff their bums... right?
Oh, hopefully you haven't ever done that, Darren.
there's going to be a problem with it. But when we put our dogs in a dog park or on a lead, every dog should be okay with each other.
And it seems so unfair because, like you said, talking about meeting somebody in a park or in a party, I'm not that kind of person that wants to go around meeting everybody. I'm the person that's sitting there by the food and pretending that I'm really hungry because it's a really easy way of getting on with people because there's food, that's a way of making a relationship. So how do we do that with dogs though?
Well, I guess it's about understanding your dog's personality, about introvert and extrovert, isn't it? Introverts are going to want to go and say hello. Extroverts are going to want to go and say hello. Introverts aren't. Yeah. So there are some key things that dogs do that we can understand and we can talk about. Okay, so first thing that dogs do is that they can tell whether they're going to get on with another dog from about 50 metres, right?
50 metres away, so like the other end of the street?
Yeah, at least, because remember, dogs have got amazing noses and amazing ears, right? So you don't need to have your dog sniff a dog's bum to know if they're going to get on. They know from a long way. There's a thing called pheromones. They can pick those out, okay?
And also, if you think about it, I've washed my hands, I've given my dog some treats, and I've washed my hands, and then they'll still come and sniff my hand for treats, and it's like, clearly... either I'm really bad at washing my hand, or my dog can still smell the treats from when I had the treats in like 2-3 hours ago.
Yeah, exactly. So they kind of have this whole language, a bit like us. So they'll look at each other. So first thing they do is they stare and they fix at each other.
Which is pretty intimidating, isn't it? Someone stared at you like that.
And if that continues, we know it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Okay. So what should happen is they should look at each other and then look away.
Yeah.
Okay. And that diffuses the situation, right? They might lie down on the ground and we think it's quite cute, but that's a calming signal to the other dog, right?
Well, we've got that thing, don't we, of seeing everything that the dog does is cute and then we don't think about it further. No. And it's actually going, well, actually, let's not think of our dog in terms of being cute, let's think of it in terms of communication. What's the understanding, what's the relationship that's being built between this dog and the other dog?
Yeah, we've actually got that whole biolingual lingo stuff, haven't we, going on? They're talking in dog language to each other. Do you know what? When we understand that language, we can diffuse the situation. We can tell whether a dog's going to get on. And if we know that dog's going to get on from their body language, then we can let them say hello. Otherwise, we don't.
And I think it's also really great for our clients and anyone with a dog to realise that they can make the decision about whether to meet another dog before they're even at that point. So it's not going to feel rude or awkward to say, when they're right close to the dog, that it's a problem. That they're doing it 50 metres away the other end of the street, but it's going to be able to think about looking and looking ahead and seeing that the dog's there, that the dogs have already actually greeted each other like at a distance.
That's right. Yeah. And like I say, they make that decision from sort of 50-20 metres whether they're going to get on. What happens is if they make the decision and they don't want to, what do? We carry on walking towards the other dog. Recipe for disaster, isn't it?
It's that whole thing that, keep an eye on where you're walking, but keep an eye on what your dog's looking at as well. Yeah.
So a couple of things we can do then. We can watch to make sure that they're not fixing their gaze, right? If they lie down, let them do that. It's a natural calming signal, right? If they lift their paw up, you see those little cute terriers, that's actually a pheromone that's being released from their paw. So it's
an anxiety
it's actually talking
gesture
to the other dog, it's communicating with the other dog, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then I love this one.
I know, it's licking the ice cream off your face.
Exactly. When you see that, that's a stressed dog. The ears go back, right? If we see all these behaviours, we just stop. Because it doesn't mean that they're not going to get on, it just means that in a moment they're worried. So if we stop, what can happen?
It's like a take a breath,
Take a breath, and then the dog can center itself, work out whether it's a real threat, and then they can move forward again. And take it slowly. Do you know how long it takes me to introduce dogs, Pat?
Well, I do know actually, but go on, tell me anyway.
At least 20 minutes. At least 20 minutes on lead. Okay.
Yeah, and that's why I don't meet other dogs when I'm out walking with people, and people ask me, I go, actually no, I'm training at the moment, because I know I don't potentially have that time. But actually, you raised an interesting point, is that you said about when you talked about when they're at a distance, people actually, the dog might stop and pause, and a lot of people will just try and make the dog keep moving because like, oh, what's going on? But actually being alert to the fact that when your dog stops, take into account the situation, take a breath as well, and just see why is my dog stopped, you know? And you know, sometimes the dog might sniff something on the ground as a distracting behaviour because it's getting stressed out. It doesn't mean that they're not wanting to be with its dog handler. It just means it's trying to do something to try and deal with the stress that's mounting up.
And again, that's another one of those calming signals that dogs will give to each other. So let them do that, definitely. And then the last thing for me is I don't let them sniff bums, because that's where the stress happens, especially when they're on lead. Because if they're on lead and that happens and the tension builds, they can't fight. They're on a lead.
It's a big thing out there that you should get the dogs to meet face to face, nose to nose, and then meet bum to bum. And how dangerous is that if you just rush into that?
Well, the only thing that can happen is your hands go in and you get bitten. So I sit them about 2 meters apart from each other and let them look at each other, let them have that communication. And if that's not going to work, well, guess what, guys?
Yeah, I know.
You know what I mean?
Say.
It ain't going to work, is it? Anyway, so most important thing, keep it safe when you've got a dog. And this is what I say, keep it safe. Don't accept what people say, that classic line, oh, my dog's very sociable. Rubbish. Assess the dog. Is it sociable today? Right? If it isn't, don't let your dog say hello. You don't have to let your dog say hello.
And I think the biggest thing, if people can actually realise that just like you and I 24/7 are not sociable to the same degree. You know, there are some days when I'm really happy to have a chat with somebody I haven't met before, and some days, do you know what, I just want my coffee and I want my own space.
God, if only we thought about dogs in the same way we think about people, we'd be sorry, wouldn't we?
Yeah.